everybody, some of the biggest news with respect to the future of mainline Sonic games has just been revealed by one of the most credible leakers in the Sonic community. There's a lot of stories, there's a lot of buzz going on about this. It's extremely important to talk about, so let's get into the news. But before we do that, please subscribe to the channel with all notifications for daily Sonic videos. I'll give you a second. And let's get into it. And here it is, guys. According to Sonic City Net, rumor, according to credible leakers, Sonic the Hedgehog will play a prominent role in the next Sonic game. All right, but all jokes aside, there are actually real rumors and incredible stuff that we got to get into today. The GOAT, Midori, has returned to leaking. This story all started off by someone named Daniel RPK. This person is a Twitter influencer and writer, CNBC. So apparently this person's got some industry connections. Daniel posted a link to his Patreon, and it says Sonic News is in the link. And Patreon is a paywall platform, so I did not pay for his Patreon, all right? But luckily, someone did, and here is the big news. It says, hashtag Sonic Frontiers 2 is reportedly via Daniel RPK in development with the eyes and the heart. So obviously, this isn't really that crazy when you think about it in the grand scheme of things, but we have more to discuss, so let's keep going. So that's when the current undisputed GOAT of Sonic leaking, Midori, enters the equation. Because that is when Midori chimed in and said, this is correct information. So direct confirmation from the best leaker. I mean, it's still, you take it with a grain of salt, that Sonic Frontiers 2 is in development. Midori then goes on to say the title is a sequel to Sonic Frontiers in gameplay style. So again, Sonic Frontiers is billed as an open zone game. That is what Sega calls it. That is the formula for the game. She says the name might change, but Frontiers was Rangers until it was announced. So there you have it. The direct sequel to Sonic Frontiers, the next mainline Sonic game, is confirmed to be in development, most likely. Although when you think about it, something like this shouldn't really come to a surprise to people when you consider the fact that Sonic Frontiers, despite what people on Twitter like to complain about, was extremely successful for Sega. The last time they reported sales on this game, I think it was like a year ago, this game had 3.5 million units sold, which means it was one of the most successful 3D Sonic titles ever. So obviously Sega was going to greenlight a sequel to the game, and it also showed Sega that Sonic is still worth investing in, although the movies probably did that first. But now they're realizing that Sonic is exploding in popularity again, and you can most likely thank none other than Sonic Frontiers. It showed that Sega can still make competent games. They can still make fun Sonic games, because personally, I love Sonic Frontiers. It's one of my favorite 3D Sonic games of all time. Although the game isn't perfect, it's still one of my favorites, and there's a lot that they can build off of with this game. Tails' channel has even chimed in and said many Sonic fans were excited after a leaker claimed a new open zone game, a Sonic Frontiers 2, quote unquote, was in the works. The catch, we already knew that idea for a while now. Really not a surprise that they're doing this. Obviously, the numbers add up. They had to make a sequel to this game because it did really well. Yeah, if you look at the Metacritic score, we have a 7 out of 10, which actually went down a point. Someone actually submitted a review like 2 months ago for this game and gave it a 6 out of 10. What is wrong with you? But an 8 out of 10 user score, you guys get the gist. I mean, this game was a really good step in the right direction. A lot of people hate that terminology. There's some glaring issues with the game that everyone has. We'll talk about that later, but I think the game is really good. Personally, my personal opinion, I really like Sonic Frontiers. So here we go. A social media account understood to be a video game industry insider reminded Sonic fans on Twitter late Sunday that the next open zone game is indeed in development. Why it matters. Many fans thought that the revelation of an open zone sequel was a brand new detail, despite Sega's publicized promise to continue the concept in future Sonic games. This is actually true. They've talked about how they want this to be the formula for 10 years going forward. Notably, Sonic team head Takashi Iizuka remarked in August 2023 that Frontiers open zone gameplay concept will serve as a formula for new titles to build on for the next 10 to 20 years. So since Sonic Frontiers 2 is confirmed to be in development, or whatever the name will be for the game, we know it's going to be open zone, which is a good thing. Open zone, obviously, I think is the way to go for the Sonic franchise. It feels like Sonic Frontiers was a natural evolution for the Sonic series, and it feels like for the first time in a while, they tried to do something different, and they had a lot of clever and creative ideas. You think about the Mario series, the natural evolution for the series was something like Super Mario Odyssey, which kind of once again redefined what the series could be. And then they moved on to Bowser's Fury, which is also like another next step forward for the series, which kind of moved towards that like open world kind of thing. It seems like that's the direction that platformers are taking. More open environments for the games. The hardware is only getting better, so it's like you have to take advantage of everything that the world has to offer. Open world, open zone, whatever you want to call it, is kind of the future of gaming. Some people hate it. I'm not opposed, but it has to be done right. And Sonic Frontiers was kind of that for Sega. Instead of the linear hallway levels of Sonic Forces, just like the bare minimum, this game really tried to have like an extremely creative gameplay loop, which I think it did have. Like the idea of Sonic Frontiers gameplay loop is still extremely creative to me. It's like you do challenges and platforming in the open world to earn the currencies and collectibles, and then you narrow it down to traditional Sonic gameplay, kind of like Breath of the Wild with the shrines. Like to me, this just really worked, and it was like the best of both worlds. Frontiers kind of feels like a mixture of the boost and adventure games, almost like a child of the two series. So the idea that you collect the currencies to unlock the levels, beat the levels to get the Chaos Emeralds, get enough Chaos Emeralds to beat the island, it really worked. Controls in cyberspace were trash. If anything, maybe they could just go full-blown adventure formula for the levels and just see how that goes. Or at the bare minimum, just improve the controls. Like the turning speed was really bad. The air controls when you jump weren't that good. Although the air dash really had a lot of corrections to that, so it wasn't too bad, but it's like if you don't have any air dash, it was more so the turning speed that was bad. Or maybe, hear me out, this could be a crazy concept. Why don't you just keep it to one control style? Instead of changing it from cyberspace to open world, just keep it one consistent play style. The open zone controls were some of the most buttery smooth stuff that we've seen in the entire Sonic franchise, especially after they added the spin dash. Like at that point, it was almost as good as a game like Sonic Adventure. I mean, Sonic Adventure probably had the most consistent, but with some of the tech that you could abuse in this game for speedrunning, I really feel like it was some of the best that we've ever seen. Keep a lot of that, right? Bring a lot of that back. Just improve and expand upon it. Obviously, improve things like the stupid pop-in in the game. Look at, we're literally watching it right now, how bad the pop-in is. They could have more like true level designs in the game that are like environmental instead of like floating platforms, maybe more world integrated stuff like mountains and things of that nature, you know, make it a little bit more stylized. And I think they can create more like actual levels into the open world. You think of like Ares Island, the linear level that they put like in the middle of Ares Island where you have to get one of the emeralds. I don't know if you guys remember, I have this section on the screen right here. This was actually one of my favorite parts of the open zone. I just like that they do stuff like this and less like random scattered stuff. Although to be honest, don't really have an issue with it. It is one of those issues that a lot of people point out with the game. They don't like the floating platforms. Although in my opinion, there's always been floating platforms in Sonic, but I get what people say. They want it to be more stylized and like look realistic to the environment. Me, that stuff doesn't matter. I'd prefer the gameplay to be as good and crisp as possible, as well as the level design itself. Not so much the art style. I'm not like, listen, the art style is good. It's important to have good art style, I think. Super Mario Bros. Wonder really comes into mind when you think about like extreme polish with like animation and art style. Like this game definitely showed me that, okay, maybe it is important to have some of this stuff, but it's like, this is not the number one priority. The number one priority is fixing the core fundamental gameplay aspects. And then we can talk about the cutscenes, which definitely need work in Sonic Frontiers. Absolutely. The cutscenes aren't that good. Animation, art style, all that stuff. Let's make sure all the core fundamentals are in check, and then we start worrying about that other stuff, I think, in my opinion. But that's what polish is, though. You know what I mean? Give them some time and give them some money. That's the most important thing. Sonic Frontiers and the movie franchise will show that the next game deserves some money to be invested in. But if they could put more of this in the open zone and just like keep improving it, keep making it better, I can only imagine the sequel to Frontiers will be absolutely fire. Personally, I love the spin dash and the rail launching, so more like momentum-based stuff would be really cool too. So hopefully they can continue to add and expand upon that. If they don't put the spin dash in the same way it is in this game, at least put more momentum-based stuff. Polish the game. First and foremost, I think the game lost like 5 to 10 points based off of just like polish. However many devs you think you need for the game, put even more devs on the game. Make more original levels, because all the original levels they put in the game were pretty good. Stop reusing Generations levels. And oh yeah, did I say polish the game? Yeah, polish the game. And just build off of this game. Personally, already Sonic Frontiers is already one of my favorite 3D Sonic games. So if they fix all the issues that a lot of people had with the game, the sequel to this game will probably be the best Sonic game ever. I'm that confident in the open zone formula and the Frontiers formula in general. But let me know what you guys think about this. What do you want in your ideal Sonic Frontiers sequel? What'd you think about the first Frontiers? Let me know everything you have to say down below in the comments.